Today, former football star O.J. Simpson is in a Nevada prison where he's been for nearly 9 years. Later this week, though, he'll have another shot at parole. We'll carry that hearing live here on HLN. Gloria Allred represented the family of Nicole Brown Simpson during the Simpson murder trial, and she joins us now live on the story from Los Angeles. Gloria, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Erica.
So, by all accounts, O.J. Simpson has been a model prisoner in Nevada, and there is a lot of talk that he could, in fact, be granted parole on Thursday. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Erica, I want to say something that I have not heard anyone say, and I feel very strongly about that. It may be true that the legal requirements for parole are met for O.J. Simpson, but that doesn't mean that the law is what it should be in reference to parole in Nevada, perhaps parole anywhere else as well. For example, what about the fact that O.J. Simpson was convicted? He entered a plea of no contest, which is tantamount to guilty, to spousal battery of Nicole in 1989. And that is a conviction for which he, by the way, he only got a sentence of $500 counseling community service. Ridiculous. It failed Nicole at the time. This system shouldn't, and it continues to fail other battered women as well. And what about the fact that even though he was acquitted in the criminal case of murdering Nicole and Ron, and may they rest in peace, the fact is that in the civil lawsuit brought by the estate of Nicole Brown Simpson and brought by the estate of Ron Goldman, a jury found him liable in that civil lawsuit of killing Nicole and Ron. And yet the factors in Nevada for parole don't take into account any civil finding by a jury, any judgment, any verdict of a jury about wrongful death. And apparently, and it may be that the conviction for spousal battery of Nicole in 1989, the misdemeanor, may have been wiped from his record now, and maybe that's not going to be taken into account. The law needs to be changed to protect and improve the rights of victims, and that's what should happen in the future.
And Gloria, I think there are plenty of people out there who would understand why you're upset, who may agree with you, but the fact is the law is the way it is. And part of this, as you well know as an attorney, is part of the reason that we have this system in the U.S., that you are innocent until proven guilty, that you are given a public defender if you can't afford one. So when you say things need to change in Nevada, that, of course, could have wide-ranging impact. What specifically do you want to see changed, and is it only for O.J. Simpson, or is it across the board?
And by the way, I have testified in Nevada before the legislature several times to change laws in Nevada, and I'm very happy to say that I was with Governor Sandoval twice in Nevada in the last few years, where he signed bills into law to change the law. It happened to be to lengthen the statute of limitations for criminal prosecution of rape and sexual abuse, and in one case to lengthen the statute of limitations for civil child sexual abuse cases. But having said that, we can work to change the law. And I do think, for example, to answer your question, that the law should take into account any prior conviction for violence against a person, even if it's a misdemeanor, and even if it's somehow been wiped from the record, if it existed ever, it should be allowed. And I think a civil finding by a jury, a verdict or a judgment of court of wrongful death should be taken into account as well, should be a factor that could be taken into account as an aggravating circumstance, because a parole board will look at the aggravating versus the mitigating circumstances, and I say that should be a factor to be considered for aggravating circumstances.
Will you be watching this hearing on Thursday?
I will be watching this hearing on Thursday with a great deal of interest. I want to say that my views right now are not the views of necessarily of the family of Nicole Brown Simpson, who I understand, Denise is not making a comment, but they are my personal views as a women's rights attorney for 41 years, and who cares quite a bit about protecting victims' rights, and especially violence against women.
Gloria, we appreciate you taking some time for us today. There will be much to go through, too, on Thursday after that hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, you can watch that hearing live right here on HLN. Our coverage will begin at noon on Thursday, but our coverage, frankly, continues all this week leading up to that day. In just a few moments, we'll also speak with O.J. Simpson's former attorney, Yael Galanter, who represented him during this Vegas robbery case for which he is now serving prison time. He'll join us a little bit later this hour.